Hell, you don't have to quite worry about that yet. Your kid's still a young one, right? So no real desires other than, the simple creature comforts.
Yeah, and we don't have a chimney either, so we better figure out how to change that at some point here soon.
He finds a way, man. He finds a way.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Or is it her first? Am I, or I don't keep track of time. Well, it's her first Christmas,
Yeah,
right?
first one, yeah.
Well, that's special, Hale.
Mm-hmm.
That's very special.
Yeah, you get all the baby's first ornaments and all that stuff. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, we're excited for sure. Yeah.
All right, so what's going on in the transfer portal today?
I was just about to say it's open. What's going on?
Just business as usual, I guess. Here on what's today? Thursday. It's hard to keep track. Thursday. I'm doing all I can to figure out who's in from Carolina and who's out there that Carolina could be going after and when they're visiting and all that fun stuff. So it seems to each day brings a new adventure, and I think the first transfer portal visitor for this cycle for South Carolina is coming in today. The tight end from Northwest Missouri State, I believe it is. Or no, actually, he's tomorrow. Zach Atkins, the Northwest Missouri State tight end. He's coming in tomorrow. From what I understand, it could be somebody else has already been here or here right now, but offensive lineman from Wake Forest, Nick Sharp, interior guy, grad transfer with 1 year to play. Nick Sharp will be in today visiting Carolina. I think most of the action in terms of the guys visiting Carolina will get going next week, but we got a couple names to keep a close eye on, and always trying to figure out who's next and who are the other ones we're going to be talking about and getting to know a little bit.
Just a little bit about the offensive lineman coming in. That's interesting because, I think fans across the country, or fans with the Gamecock fans that watch football, they can see, they watch the ball. So if you get the ball and all this good stuff, you know who they are. They have stats. There's no stats kept for offensive linemen. You can't pull up ESPN and get pancakes or anything like that. You're basically rocking and rolling with PFF grades. So kind of tell us about these players that are coming in on the offensive line, your thoughts on them, what you've heard about them, your opinion, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I haven't watched any tape or highlights or even tried to with anybody, not just the offensive lineman, but I'm doing, like I said, I'm just doing all I can to try to figure out what's what and who's who. That I don't really try to spend much time, forming an opinion about these guys outside of what I can find real quick on the internet with stats and what games they've played in, and maybe looking at PFF to see the grades. So with Sharp, he's an interior guy. He's got several ACC offers in addition to South Carolina, obviously, Duke, Virginia, places like that. I think he's maybe a 1 or 2 year starter, or was it at Wake Forest? Like I said, he's going to be an interior guy. And if you look at South Carolina's current roster, that starting five with Torricelli Simpkins, Mar Bell, both moving on after the bowl game here later this month, and Vershawn Lee obviously as well at center. They've got some needs along the interior, and if you can bring in some older veteran guys that maybe help bridge the gap, so to speak, that's always nice to have in your back pocket. But you know what? If the younger guys can come in and compete and win the job over them, great. But if you're trying to maybe replicate what you had this season or have this season with that offense and how things have gone with Lenoris and the running game and all that, to me, it makes sense to try to come as close as you can to copying that blueprint, so to speak. So Sharp's one. They've got an offensive tackle from Western Carolina who's coming in next week. His name is, I'm looking at my list because it's hard to keep up, Derek Simmons. He's coming in late next week. Offensive tackle, like I said, he's like 6'6", 325, so he's huge. He's a well-traveled fella. Began his career at Tusculum in 2020, transferred, I believe it was Abilene Christian after that, then Of course, he's been at Western for the last couple of years, played in about, I think, 15 or 16 games during Western. So there are certainly some others too, some guys who could be visiting. There's a dude from Vanderbilt. I'm sure there are plenty of others. They're looking to really attack the portal up front on the offensive line like they've done in the past, and we'll see how it shakes out. But there's certainly a lot happening right now.
Competition helps up front. And this Andrew Jones guy from Grambling, I have seen clips of him posted on our message board. Was a 4-star guy out of high school, I guess, from John Errett in Marrero, Louisiana. I guess ended up at Grambling because of grades. As a linebacker prospect, what do you think? I mean, I think from what I've seen, the dude looks like he's likes contact and it can run.
Yeah, he began his career at Memphis, I believe. But yeah, he was really productive last year. This past season, 2024. I believe he was the co-defensive player of the year in the SWAC. He's also another 1-year guy, one and done, if you will. So a veteran who would come in and talking about a position where you would really need to bridge the gap, linebacker with all the guys who are leaving this year, from Debo, Bam, Demetrius Knight, obviously, Mo Kaba's in the portal. Then they're bringing in four freshmen, and they got Fred Johnson and as one of like 2 guys who are returning for next year, and Fred will be a sophomore. So I think it's a good strategy to see if you can get some veteran guys who've played a lot and been productive. And Jones is one of those. Josiah Schroeder, who's at West Virginia last 2 years, was actually a South Carolina recruit coming out of high school. Jeremiah Trotter's son and Jeremiah Trotter Jr.'s brother, former Clemson linebacker. He had a good redshirt freshman season this past year at West Virginia. Is another guy who could be coming in next week for a visit. Certainly not a one and done type of guy from an eligibility standpoint, but he's played and he's clearly a little bit older than a lot of what this linebacker room is looking like right now. So yeah, Jones is definitely visiting the 17th. We'll see when Trotter comes in. Could be a little later in the week from when Jones is coming in. So again, linebacker, like offensive line, position of need, and lose a bunch of guys, and it's nice to be able to sprinkle in some veterans with experience and production who are good players with your young guys who you're trying to get developed and coached and ready to play.
Yeah, you mentioned Trotter, Kelby Collins from Florida, who the Gamecocks went down the road with him in high school recruiting. I remember. I think he's from Alabama. I think he just picked Carolina at the end. I mean, Florida at the end. Seems like he's going to visit. I mean, a lot of times the assumption would be that the runner-up out of high school gets the kid from the portal. That's not always the case. It just kind of depends. I mean, Stone Blanton and Pup Howard went with their second choice when they left Carolina. But this kid, he's a big, tall defensive tackle that actually played a little bit for the Gators. Your thoughts, having covered his recruitment, as far as what feedback he had given about the Gamecocks and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know about him visiting yet. I haven't heard that. I'm not sure where that's been reported elsewhere. But coming out of high school, he considered Carolina. I don't know how closely per se. I can't remember off the top of my head if he visited. I'm pretty sure he did at some point along the way. I don't think he took an official visit. So I guess my sort of answer in a roundabout way to Kelby Collins and where Carolina's at right now is I'm sure there's probably a lot of people who are in the market for Kelby Collins, or guys of his kind of profile who have played and been pretty good in the college level already. Defensive tackle, those guys are highly sought after, and South Carolina is probably one of many that's trying to get him. So yeah, we'll see it. To me, it's one of those where until I know for sure he's coming in for a visit, or somebody says he's coming in for a visit for sure and has a date, like I'll pay a little closer attention to that one. But until then, I'm just kind of, I don't want to say skeptical, but a little leery.
I share your skepticism, sir.
Yeah.
So this kid from A&M from Lakeland, Florida, was a 5-star. I didn't think he was a 5-star. I mean, then he went to A&M and never played. That didn't mean much. I mean, Michael Goodwine kind of followed that path for the Gamecocks. He's supposed to visit. Is it Gabriel Brownlee Dindy? Is that how you say it?
I think it's Brownlow.
Brownlow Dindy.
Yeah.
Dun Dindy. Lakeland, Florida, of course, Torian Gray's hometown. There to the staff, but thoughts about guys like that. I mean, I think Carolina needs to bring in, unless there's a Walter Nolan that falls in their lap, I think you need depth and guys that aren't terrible players, guys that can play. But the numbers on the inside at D tackle this year, Hale, were very beneficial. Kind of what do you think about this guy, and do you expect that D tackle board to kind of expand as we move forward? Not that this is the board. Not that this is the board. I want to clarify that, because people are going to take that and think the coaches just have 2 guys on the board. Our known the known targets. How about that? The known defensive tackle. Will that expand?
There you go. Yeah, that is something that I think most people need to keep in mind when we're talking about it on the board or on here. Is like, just because we're not talking about a guy or don't know a whole lot about them as far as South Carolina being involved, doesn't mean they aren't. But anyway, with him, specific to being at A&M, like obviously they've had a ton of really good defensive tackles that he's been behind. That you made the Monkel Goodwine comparison coming from Alabama, and I think that's obviously spot on. I don't know what this guy from A&M, like specifics, like why he didn't play more, because obviously if he was good enough to play more, he would have. So there's probably something there to at least raise the antennas a little bit with him and his lack of snaps. But if you're South Carolina, if you're trying to get a guy like him who's he just finished his 3rd season, so obviously he's older and been in the college game for a while. It's one of those types where, like, hey, if you get him, like, that's cool. Like, you need a lot of bodies, and if he can come in and get a spot in that rotation, great. If he can lock up a starting job and be a good player, even better. But I think the expectations, if you do get him, are need to be not like, oh, this guy was a 5-star, he's going to be a stud for us, like that. I don't think, and I think most people kind of realize that now after following the portal for the last few years, like we all have, that hey, just because you were a 5-star doesn't mean that you're going to be a super great player in college, and it's even more apparent if you've already been in college for a couple of years and you hadn't done a whole lot. So yeah, if he ends up here, cool. If he doesn't, probably not a huge deal, because he hadn't done a whole lot already. So doesn't mean he won't at his next stop. But hey, like, Carolina's got a need for some veterans at defensive tackle, and hey, if you need to take a flyer on a guy like that, by all means do it. See what happens.
People forget Goodwine was like a top 70 recruit. Aaron Parks, who also came from Oklahoma, who blew out his knee this year, but was not going to be any better than second team, most likely, on offensive tackle. He was like a top 60 recruit. Both those guys are from Maryland. Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think, and I like Josiah Trotter quite a bit. Carolina sort of backed off of him during the process.
Yeah.
Don't know why. Obviously they had good linebackers this year. I think he's kind of proven himself a little bit to be a little better than maybe we thought at West Virginia, but we'll see kind of how that works. Okay, so switching gears, because I know Mike and Phil are getting bored with this recruiting talk.
No, not at all.
Well, yeah, there's just not much else there. You got the visitors. That Derek Simmons guy. I will say this, Hale. I watched almost every play of the NC State Western Carolina game because Phil's a catamount, and it was the first week, and there's nothing to do. I remember him. He looked really good. I mean, I thought against NC State. I remember that dude. It's like they got this big old kid out there at tackle. My God, so.
Yeah,
maybe
took him to the wire and fended off an aggressive defense. So, not bad.
And to answer your question, Craig, they're really not going shorter on interior. They just signed 6'6" Christian Ingram and 6'4.5" Xavion Hardy. I think
I said Caleb Williams is pretty tall too.
Yeah, Caleb Williams is like 6'4.5" as well. So I just think that I think it takes, you want all kinds of body types in there. If you can get a 6'5", 305-pound monster that plays like can get leverage like he's 6'1", great. But TJ Sanders is like 6'2.5", and he's going to probably be drafted in the first round, according to the projections. So, so I'm not worried about if they go tall, if they go short. I like a mix. It's kind of like receiver to me. Hell, tall. So this news came out today that Concepcion from NC State's visiting or plans to visit, or Carolina's in the mix, whatever that report was. I think they're wanting a guy like that, or like a Dane Key, or like that. And then I think they'll probably take one from a lower level if they can get the right guy. Your thoughts on the pursuit of the golden egg, golden receiver, golden goose, whatever you want to call it. I think that would be really helpful for next season, just because, I think the other guys can get in and play, the freshmen and the guys returning, but I think it's really helpful for a quarterback to have, at times, unless you have like three studs, unless you have like LSU's situation last year or something, to have a go-to guy. Your thoughts on that? Is the need as big as people think? You think they'll land one, that kind of thing?
Well, what's the latest on Dane Key? I think is $1 million.
There's been no updates, but
I can tell you around here the talk is he's got
sister goes to Georgia.
Yeah, does she play sports, right? Is she softball?
I'm not sure.
And he might have he might have a girlfriend that goes there too. I can't remember, but
it's
a lot of people in the Georgia camp are confident that that's where he lands, but at this point, it's all speculation, and we don't know the dollar figures being thrown at Dane Key, right?
Yeah, you don't. And, here's the thing, too, because you can kind of follow. I don't know how many receivers Kirby's taken out of the portal, but there's a lot of name guys that are circling through there right now for visits, and I haven't seen anything on Dane Key. But it may be a situation. Dane Key sometimes you can put in do not contact from the portal, and they know where you're going, and you can slap that on at any time. I don't think that's happened, but we'll see. I would be surprised, and you never know with this, because I thought Quinshad Judkins would be at Auburn or Alabama, and it's Ohio State, so you never know with money involved. But I think if Dane Key doesn't go to Georgia, he'd probably come to South Carolina. That's a name I know that's been discussed internally.
Ole Miss is involved too.
They are.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
not surprising.
It's the portal.
That's what they do.
That's what they do.
And Georgia doesn't live in the portal much at all, but they feel like they must have led the country in drop passes. I mean, their guys couldn't catch a cold even when they got open. And so I would not be shocked at all if they're being pretty aggressive. Ole Miss is always aggressive with wideouts, and Lane and that offense can attract some good ones. And they've got a lot of money with their collective. So I think it's going to be a hell of a battle for Key.
Yeah, so going back to Concepcion, from what JC was talking about him, he has a top 6 apparently, and South Carolina is one of the 6. I don't know that he's scheduled to visit yet, and I don't know if he will. Just because the guy has a top 6, 5, 4, 3, whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go to all the schools. I think his first trip is maybe going on right now to Alabama. His group also had like Miami and Texas A&M and Colorado, and obviously one other that's I can't think of right now in addition to South Carolina. So, I mean, just to me, when I hear those names, I mean, Ole Miss could be one of them. I can't remember for sure. But when you hear the names like Alabama and Miami and Texas A&M and Colorado, like those are like the big boys of this stuff. Not to say South Carolina is like small time, not by any means. Definitely not saying that, but like those are like the upper echelon, like the top guys are typically going to go through those places and visit or have legitimate interest, regardless of position and regardless of portal, high school, junior college, whatever. Those are tough teams to compete against. So we'll see with Concepcion and like you guys were talking with Key, like Georgia is very much a factor. I mean, and Key and Concepcion are two totally different types of receivers. Key's a 6 feet and after the catch guy who's obviously taking a lot of handoffs and jet sweeps and things like that throughout his career. So different types of players, but certainly would upgrade Carolina's receiver room in a big way, either one of them for sure. So it would do the same for just about any other receiver room in the country. So I think when people, again, like you see the names of guys popping up and you're like, oh, hey, I remember him from high school, or this guy's from Charlotte. Like, hey, South Carolina should be a factor. Well, there are going to be a lot of people who want to be a factor too. And it's not always just easy like that to go get a guy just because he had you in his top 2 out of high school and took an official visit, or is from an hour and 20 minutes up the road. Like it, there's a lot more going on than just some of those things.
Absolutely. So. It's crazy. So anyway, all right, Hale, any parting shots, man? You want to wish JB a happy birthday?
JB, happy birthday.
It's
29.
Birthday.
I don't know. I'm not sure what the number is, but happy 29th.
That'll work.
JB's an older millennial, so he's younger than like me and Phil and Mike especially. I think if you lined all 3 of us up, though, I would look the oldest. Phil would look the second
I don't
oldest.
know. I'd
Mike
probably
would
look the oldest. Yeah,
but no. Yes, I don't know how old he is, but he's out to lunch with his girl.
He's a mature
girls.
Whatever he is.
He's a mature millennial. So
indeed,
an old soul.
Godspeed. He's awesome. But yeah, well, Merry Christmas, man. If we don't hear back from you, and that first one, I always hear that's the special one. So take lots of pictures. I know you and your wife will take lots of pictures, and she would. The baby won't know, but she will. So.
That's right. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys, and hope y'all have a good one as well. If we don't talk, because we very well could. I don't know the schedule. I don't pay attention to that.
Congrats, Hale.
Congrats.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it, boys. Y'all be
Merry
good.
Christmas.
Take care.
Merry Christmas.